Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Blame It on Marketing. This is our somewhat seasonal, I would say, sales episode, and we are very excited to talk about just why there's so many hiccups and why certain stuff just doesn't make sense and why certain old school ways of thinking about things really are going to mess you up and set you up for failure. But before we get into that, of course, we want to introduce our lovely guest. I will kind of throw it over to Cohan to introduce himself.
Thank you. It's great to be on the podcast today. Really appreciate the time. I've basically been in sales for around 25 years now, and I've had every position from kind of that SDR, entry level, kind of early careers, all the way up to RVP and general manager, looking after a whole entity. I also worked in all verticals as well, and also from the product, and also to the software sales, and globally. So in Europe, South Africa, America, India, APAC, etc. So yeah, I've got quite good experience of just some of the challenges that we all face in sales, and a lot of it isn't really necessarily anyone's fault. I think it's just more of these kind of archaic ideas that we all stick by that aren't necessarily out or there's no message behind it, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ruta and I are really excited to talk about this. Also, I just want everybody to notice the fact that my Wi-Fi is holding up, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's finally actually working. Thanks, everybody. Praise the fiber optic gods. I literally always have shit Wi-Fi. This is the first time ever on this podcast. Ruta, I hope you leave this in because I feel like we should celebrate.
I will.
So,
I absolutely will.
Before we get into the discussion about some crappy sales tactics that go on, we always start the episodes asking people for either a marketing or a kind of sales confession. So are you prepared to confess what's the worst thing you've ever done on the job?
Well,
that is.
I thought about this. Well, where do I go with this? First podcast, don't want to get cancelled immediately. There are a couple of things. I don't know if it's the worst thing, but it was, I guess, a case scenario of not really understanding someone's mental health properly and realizing the situation that you're in with the kind of work culture we have in sales. And I basically took my team into London. And we were having an offsite, having a few beers after, and not everyone probably wanted to go to that drink, and people had their own kind of, I want to go, or family, and everyone's like, no, pressure, let's all go together, let's all drink. That's the culture, right? So, it was all going wrong anyway. One of my team used to make like inappropriate jokes or say things out of time. Everyone was never comfortable and thought, oh, they're a bit weird or odd. And actually, his mental health wasn't great. So looking back in hindsight. So anyway, this was just after COVID. We were in a pub, and let's say it was one of the football teams that are known for not just singing songs. Let's say they're quite a fruity team. I don't want to say what team it was. And one of my AEs decided to go up to one of the leaders of one of the teams, touch him and say that he had COVID for a joke. From my bodyguard days, which is a whole different life, I knew this guy. I used to look after his team at the stadium. He looked at me, and I was thinking, wow, he's literally going to just take my AE away. And I'm going to have to explain where he's gone. I have to go in to the cloud, my AE out of the situation, talk to this guy really quickly, stop someone else from attacking him. And my other team, and my whole team was stood there like, what on earth? It was really, really bad. And at the time, we all had to leave. But it was actually quite a bad situation. When someone's mental health isn't great, should they really go into a pub? Definitely, the whole work, it all has to be something because someone says. And my manager was putting a lot of pressure on us to all go. No one really wanted to. That was a really bad thing, but it's definitely a confession there. I knew there was something wrong with mental health, but we still all went, and it went wrong. And it could have been really dangerous. Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard though, because I think we've all been there where we've, like, especially if you have ever worked in London or in one of the capital cities or a big city, and you're in the office, and that pressure to make sure you are at the pub and joining in is so high. Like we talk about it now because we don't have that culture and we've, moved outside of the city, but it is really hard to always get that right. So
Yeah.
Really
also
is,
you do have to take responsibility for yourself and say, no, I don't want to go to the pub. It's hard, but you do.
So I think that if you're in the leadership position, then it's up to you to the team and to make decisions that they
Definitely.
Yeah. So, thinking about the topic that we have selected for this podcast, what do you think is going on at the moment that's making companies kind of really crack at the seams when it comes to sales, and why are we seeing so many kind of really crappy sales tactics, which I think we all know don't really work?
Yeah. It's a really good question. I think, we could be here for weeks, right, and trying to understand this. And I think ultimately it comes from pressure. So, and it comes from people being unable to alleviate that pressure in their specific role. So at board level, there's lots of tactics around using the numbers to either create PR or to drive either market share or effective competitive. Those changes will filter down and they're not always communicated in the right way. And what happens is people are under so much pressure, I guess, in sales to not even to get their quota to exceed that. It causes behaviours that are wrong. But if those behaviours work in any way, it's very hard to then tell someone to not do it. On one hand, leadership will say, put something into pipes that isn't ready. So the pipeline is everything from first touch to negotiation that might close. And often leaders will say, move that from typically their stages of pipe. So let's stay at stage 1. Let's say, can you put that in stage 3? Because I don't see it on my reporting. Therefore, it looks like you aren't doing anything. And then imagine every AE in your region, hundreds, all put opportunities from having one conversation in stage 3, which is then when you're starting to send pricing, you're starting to evangelize your product, start to talk about how you can support them. Stage 3 is nothing like stage 1. But apparently no one in the board sees stage 1 because it's too much to look at. So already you're telling your AEs to lie by putting things in stage 3 that aren't, right? What happens then? When it's at 3 and it goes to 4, that's it too. And that happens all the way to negotiate. So at negotiate, you're sending a contract. The customer's still at 2 stages beforehand. Because they don't know what the percent is, they haven't raised the PO. They haven't negotiated the price yet. So that one mistake by leadership at the beginning is a domino effect, and it causes that across the whole sales cycle. The consumer, the prospect, feels like you're being pushy, and they feel uncomfortable. So if it does close, guess what? They're not going to upsell or cross-sell. They're not going to buy from you again. They're not going to renew. Also, how does that affect your pipeline and we come on to your forecast, right? Your forecast is what you think will happen based on all the variables like climate, the economic state of the country you're in, your average close rate of the business, then your close rate, then your vertical, then your sub-vertical, and I could go on. There's so many variables that we don't talk about. All this is impacted, but apparently we're supposed to just, pull a number out, get to an answer.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And we see it from our side because obviously we're on the marketing side of the fence. And we know we kind of know this stuff is going on. We don't like it. I think lots of marketers really hate the fact that our sales colleagues are put under so much pressure in this sort of like, just stick it in the pipe, or even worse, sometimes actually don't put it in the pipeline until it's about to close. So then you kind of get these that opposing problem. And from a marketing point of view, then it looks like marketing's not performing. I mean, this podcast called Blame It on Marketing, this is literally the root cause of why marketing get the blame, because there's shitty things going on in sales. There's a senior leadership team who are or some senior leaders who are invested in doing things like Cohen's describing. And then who gets fired and who gets blamed? Us first, and then sales.
Yeah. But I think, Emma, it's kind of everyone's on that same challenge, right? Because often I've actually had marketing and sales and inside sales that report into me. So the same thing happens in marketing, right? There's a marketing qualified lead, what's known as an M2L, and someone will look at the data set and look at all the NPLs and say, right, why are they sat there? And you give a plethora of reasons, genuine reasons why they're still marketing leads. They go, no, switch them over to sales, make them SQLs. And you're thinking, well, if I can use sales, the sales are going to nurture it, and they're going to be able to do the correct, or they're just going to try and close them, because that's what their job is. You then switch those NQLs to SQLs, guess what happens? Sales go, these leads are rubbish. You say they're not leads. Leads say everyone shut up and do your job.
Yeah.
So that's great. You're giving NQLs that haven't gone through a process, aren't nurtured properly, to salespeople that aren't set up to then nurture and push those leads in a certain way. Or forget about talking about a cadence, right? Quite companies got InsideSales.com back in the day, and they used to do a lot of research with Harvard Business Review, right? So I've got a lot of data on this, and the average rep will try and call someone 2.2 times, and then they'll give up. So imagine if you give all of your NPLs, put them to SQLs, even though they're not, say 1,000 leads, you give them to a sales guy or girl, and they're going to 2.2 times and give up. What a waste of data. So how much it costs to consume data? What have you had in the event? What have you had to brief? No, this isn't webinar data. This is really high expensive, really volume-based data that's been wasted because, again, that pressure to try and push sales when they're not ready to be pushed, which really negates the customer experience that the customer wants. It ruins the relationship between you and your prospect.
Yeah. Emma just had a very recent bad sales experience with a company that we will not name, but they're the big data companies. Yeah. And they just refused to give Emma the pricing because she was like, well, I need to know how much it is because I'm a freelancer and I'm my own agency owner. Like, I just need to know how much it is because otherwise I can't buy it. And also I've used you 100 times. So like, could you just let me know what the price is? And she got chased down by like 3 different people. At one point, somebody was like, well, if you don't speak to us, then I'm going to put you down as don't contact on the system. Wow. And I was like, wow, okay. Someone's really trying to protect their conversion rates because they're not even willing to like get Emma into the buying cycle.
But what a waste! But what a waste of time! Like, you can just qualify me out double quick because the only thing that I need to know is the price. They're still calling me now. This is like a week after the initial. Can I find out what the price is? I'm like, well, just mark me as don't contact at this point. Also, just for their knowledge, Apollo. When they hear this episode, when they're still calling me in January 2025, I bought Apollo. Don't you worry. So we've obviously talked about some of the crappy kind of tactics that are going on. What are some of the other things that you see when we're talking about this scenario where there's just this massive disconnect between teams, between the pressure that's being pushed on people, and why are they so damaging? Not just damaging to your pipeline revenue, but what goes on inside the kind of company culture.
Yeah, I think there's 2 things I want to call out for this one. One of them is the mysterious book, and the other one is 4 times pipeline or 5 times pipeline. Whatever you want to make up. I don't think I've ever had an interview, apart from when I had my first interview. So I had my first sales roles that were very, very junior. No one asked me about that because obviously I had no historical relationship. Since I've been doing sales for 3 or 4 years and was very good at it, people would almost not employ me unless I said I had a bad book. Even though when you're going from company to company, your customer you sold to before might not buy from that company for multiple reasons, or might be in a different sector or vertical, or might have an incumbent provider that if they look at voice, that's their 5-year deals, CRM, 5-year deals, security, 4 or 5-year deals. So no one's ripping anything out because you've got a relationship with them. It's bonkers. Yes, I have good relationships. Yes, we could meet them and talk about other products, but not what I sold them before. That doesn't make any sense. And plus, in every sales contract, it says you can't talk to your customers for 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. So the same leaders that put these clauses in contracts are asking you to break that contract, be unethical straight away in the job interview. So you haven't started with the company yet, and they want you to be unethical. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, to stop doing it. I did an article on LinkedIn recently and I put a fax as the picture. That's how old school the black book is. There's no such thing. And one of my leaders, a VP that was great, said to me, would someone buy from you again that has bought from you before? That's a great question. Yes, absolutely. Not will they buy our products now you work for us. That's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
can you take them? It's like harking back to like going down the freaking golf club with your clients. Like my dad used to work in sales. He's now retired. Like that is, and my dad used to work in HR tech, massive, like biggest HR tech company going. I think you could probably say, right? So like he was dealing with enterprise deals, and yeah, he used to take people out for dinner and go down the golf club with people. I remember thinking that was shitty then, and that's like 20 years ago. Like, come on,
Well done,
man.
Ems.
Have we not moved on? Yeah, he ain't gonna listen to this. It's all good.
The point is that if you're going to building relationships, you're able to understand someone's challenges, and you're good at what you do. You make new relationships, you make new partners. That's the whole point. Yes, you can leverage your experience, but not just to start on one day and then revenue. Again, it all comes back to this quickness for revenue, this eager to push people until they're uncomfortable until they snap and doing it well.
Yeah. Maybe, and yeah, and we're seeing that a lot within marketing and sales, VPs and startups. How long do we last? Year and a half, 2 tops. And it's literally, so marketing doesn't necessarily have a black book, but they expect us to have a playbook to put in and just get everything cookie cutter, get it right. And then for sales leaders, it's the black book. Rinse your black book. You're good. You're out.
Yeah, and it's a real old school way of thinking, and I'm hoping that, you know, as market changes, we start to change these ideas. You know, it's hard, right? Sometimes you can't speak out for multiple reasons, and you don't want to not get the job, you don't want to get fired, so you don't say anything. And that happens a lot, especially when we talk about the next point. So, pipeline leads closer, the forecast is a challenge everyone has. Now, I've seen some hilarious stuff, but also when you're manipulating data, you're manipulating it for yourself and for your own reports, and each leader seems to be lying to their boss, about what the real situation is, and then quarter by quarter, then you haven't addressed your data problem, you haven't addressed your marketing generation problem, or not understanding your best lead source. You haven't addressed if you haven't spent anything in your brand or your tone of voice. All you're addressing is that, yes, we're all lined in that pipeline, and yes, we haven't grown. But yes, you have tips. We fire people. And if you fire people, this takes months to ramp up on average, by the way. So how are they going to pick up for 3 months? They're ramping for 6. At strategic and enterprise, you can ramp up for 9 months. It takes a year to onboard.
If not more, yeah.
How are you firing them after 3 months? It makes no sense. And remember that to fire someone who's on 6 figures and above, it costs 1.5 times their salary to employ them in a year. So you're firing someone after a year, you've wasted a lot of money. Now, so your pipeline is everything in your world in sales, from I spoke to them in a restaurant to start to close. So that's your pipeline. Your quota is the number contractually that you've agreed to hit for that business and team. That's quota, that's pipeline. Your forecast is everything that you believe in your world that could come in, might come in, or will come in based on the probability that you agree within your team, based on a subset of a lot of variables, including your average close rate, including the steps you're in. So, for example, this is when I want to pull up, let's say you're in the retail team. Retail end of year is July. You all know on Black Friday, probably after Valentine's Day, they're not buying nothing. It's all BAU. They can't sell anything. But from March to July, they're going to buy stuff and sell stuff, and that's when you can build. So imagine if you're a rep, you've got something in your pipeline to close in November in retail. Surely your leader's going to go, I call BS there because Cohan, they're not going to buy anything from you in November because it's BAU. It's their business period of the year.
Yeah.
You know, or going to ski resort in January. I could go on and on about all these different examples, right? So at what point they then sit down and say, okay, it's not based on our close rate, it's not based on the vertical or the time of year. say if you're on public sector and there's an election, for example, there's a period of time where they won't purchase for 12 weeks. Imagine people have to claim in those periods. It's made up. What's funny is, when they say, okay, you can't just have one-time pipe, right? So what that means is, for people who don't know, if my quota is 1 million, okay, I've got 1 million of pipeline, that means I've got 0 coverage. It's 100%. So I have to close all of that to hit my number. Given in the UK, the average close rate is 19%. That means if I've got a £1 million target, I'm 800k short. Right? The problem, that's where the coverage comes in. And often coverage will probably be about 2.5 times, right? If that's even possible, because that falls out and comes in the whole year. But when you're onboarding and you first say, this is my stage, 60-90, this is my plan, and you just started in the business, you don't know the culture, you don't know anyone, they go, right, tell me this year what you're going to hit. Does that make any sense? It doesn't, because they don't know yet. So they go, okay, I'm going to go like this, and blag some numbers, make up some conversations. And remember that all these conversations are stage 1 and stage 3, right? So they're all further along when they should be, right? Then they're going to say, okay, all this pipe you've got coverage, we're good. My boss, and so on and so forth. When they go to the board, where they don't look at names, don't look at MR, they don't look at Ruta or Cohan, they just do numbers and a market share price they need to hit, or an EBITDA they don't want to go into. That's all they see. There's no names, no nothing. And they go, right, that fits with that, we're good. But no one actually calls bullshit on the whole pipeline, 4 managers below. It doesn't make sense. Because if they address that there isn't no 3 times or 4 times or 5 times pipe, and to that like pipeline, what would happen? Everyone would be fired, right? So the managers don't let them bullshit, even though they know it's not right, they don't want to lose their job. And then push on to shove, it's the AEs that all get sacked. And I've seen that 20 times in my career.
I think we've witnessed it where, like, you've got a sales leader who, you know, I think sometimes it's quite obvious if you smell this bullshit, like lots of us know what this looks like and we've lived through it, and some of us are still living through it now. But like, you see that like AEs will get sacked maybe like 4 or 5 times. There'll be like 4 or 5 rounds of AEs getting sacked before the senior leader is looked at. And it's like potentially you have caused, I would say, like maybe 2 to 3 years worth of damage to your revenue. At that point, like if you are going through maybe 5 AEs have been sacked and replaced in the over the course of a year. Yeah, it's like 3 years worth of damage, and it is really hard to then claw that back, isn't it? It's like at that point, what do you
impossible, but for me, let's think under the hood and say, okay, if we don't have the pipeline forward we need to, what can we do? So actually sitting down with finance, sitting down with marketing, and the sales, and saying, as a team, what do we do well? What works? What's our best close rate? So it could be that when there's a line item or a part code or a solution that sells over there, everything else we're selling. Okay, great. Let's sell that. Based on that, okay.
Ruta's triggered.
It's so looking at the milestones of how you get to that and then working backwards. So, okay, who's got to have conversations in the team? Okay, Emma, Emma, I want you to partner with everyone else once a week. We do some role plays and you show everyone the conversations. Okay, great. Everyone else's meetings will get better and improve. Okay, who's best at closing? Okay, it's Ruta. Ruta, I want you to sit with her one-on-one and then with Emma and then everyone else and go through how you close and the red lines and the metrics you use to negotiate how you're seeing value that doesn't make you discount. Once you're doing that, you're enabling your team, you're showing best practice, no one's been fired, you're all going to get to the same level. Because in sales, right, a third of your team hurt, a third of your team average, and a third of your team is going to fail. That's the truth. So you're interviewing all year because you know a third of them are going to go. A third of them are going to say they are, don't really care. And a third are going to excel and be amazing. But at what point do you not say, well, the ones that have been successful, what are those attributes? Why are they successful? Because it's certainly not the company that's helping them. So let's have a conversation with them and say, why? What are you doing? Because there's certainly no software or support they're getting.
Yeah, just buy more tech. Everything will get solved. Just buy more tech.
That's not prepared. Some consultant will come in and go, this is on the whiteboard out the strategy. Nothing ever happens.
Yeah.
there's a lot of BS going on. The pressure to succeed and close, but the customers there, everyone knows it now. When are we going to change?
Yeah.
I really like this point that you made about, essentially it's a two-part. One, if you're bullshitting about your metrics, you're never going to get to a point where you can actually have a discussion and fix stuff, because we're all bullshitting about our metrics and need to keep face. And two, if you do bullshit about your metrics, you're going to get to a point where you have to put everyone on pips. And as soon as you put everyone on pips, they are out. Like, how much recovery from a pip is there in the world? Like, if I'm on a pip, I'm fucking interviewing for other jobs. Like, fuck y'all, you know?
Yeah, I think it's less than 20% will stay after they've been a bit.
Yeah.
Because of how they feel they've been treated. I've had pips in my career a lot, and I feel that as a challenge. And just to annoy them, I would smash the pip out of the park. I would still leave,
but
just to the point, I would smash that pip. And I coach people that are on pip, coach them how to beat it, and then they leave. Because all you're saying is, I don't know how to manage you, I don't know how to fix this, so I'm going to fire you, but I can't do it directly.
So why, I mean, obviously we've talked a bit about the pressure that comes along with this, but how do you avoid doing this? Because I think, quite a lot, in particular, I think the pipeline scenario where we're all sitting there going like, we've all kind of worked out this horrible metric where we're like, if we pour this number of leads in, we'll get this many, this will convert, these are our crap conversion rates, this is how much pipe we need. How do we, and obviously you've talked about sitting down and having honest conversations, but how do we avoid it from the outset?
Yeah, we need to take it away from people. So I've been working with AI since 2015. An algorithm that can say, look at all of your data points, millions of them in real time, and look at, time of day to fall, type of fall, when to fall them, how they're going to react to that fall. And that's as far as we're in pipeline, right? The software will tell you, based on everything you've ever played in your business, this is a percentage rate of close. That's called weighting. We used to do weighting back in the day in Excel, right? And that was painful. Every time someone changes it and you report to the board, you're reporting the wrong number. But let's leave a weight in Excel. Actually, let's weight it. So let's look at it from an individual. My code rate is like 46%. Someone else is 55 or 20. So the software will look at my behaviors, look at how I use the system, look at what I do, how long I talk, what kind of documents I put in the system, and it spit out a number of what is the coverage I need to hit my number, and it'll do that for the whole business. I think that's what we need to move towards. Because I always say, don't ask the rep, ask the data. When I get to a sales team, I don't ask them what the numbers are. I run a report, and the CRM will tell me what the numbers are.
And if you're a sales or marketing leader, one of the best metrics you can start by looking at is the accuracy of forecast. So just start putting down what they said the forecast will be and what you actually close that month. And when you see that there's a gap, you can immediately start investigating and actually making a change, because otherwise you're going to constantly be battling at, this and this happened. It's like, yeah, but your forecast ain't right.
I don't know if you agree with this or not, Cohen, but it's almost like when it's other teams, that's not acceptable. Like if marketers were to behave like that, it's absolutely be like, though that behaviour is not allowed. But with sales teams, it's almost like kind of accepted sometimes that people, because of the pressure, they're allowed to behave like that.
So it's a really good point, and I think it's got a double-edged sword to it. Sales is seen in such a negative light that when people in sales in a negative way, it's like, well, they're salespeople, so they're bad, they're liars, they're cheats, who cares, they're cocky, they're arrogant. So no one notices, but also no one's thinking that actually this behaviour is caused internally by us and our behaviour. Actually causing a cancer. It's correlated. You currently say to someone, you're going to be fired, 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 it's going to affect the way they are internally and how they process information and how much they want to be there. Some people start really positive and confident, but also I have to call out, I think 70% of the time when you're given a quota, when you're going to hit that quota, the company will change it or they increase it. That is disgusting. Now, I know other roles go, well, they're earning so much, but why are they moaning? Well, no, I've signed to get paid X, and you're telling me now I'm going to get paid Y.
It
causes a lot of behaviours too.
one of my favorite things in my very short sales career was when I was told that your sales goal is the bare basic to cover, and that you should be not just reaching your sales goal every month, you should be like blowing way past it. And I was like,
So,
then why is it a goal? Like, that's not what a goal is. You can't reach
no,
your goal and then be like, just go 3 times X that.
no. So that comes from if a leader is smart, okay, and they know, for example, in their market, in the territory, with the team they have, they're going to hit 500k. Say. What they do is then, if they follow you, give you all 200k target. That means if he's 100, he's not got a million, okay,
And
he only
double
needs
covered.
100k, right? If he's other than it, if he goes to his leader and says, I think we do 750, yeah, he knows he's got 250, you're all going to do 200 as a base.
Yeah.
That makes sense. He's actually covered. He's actually helping you to some leeway, giving you some bandwidth to don't hit it. He's then going to forecast up lower. And some companies are very good at doing that. Because all the leaders were ex-salespeople, they get it. So I've had that once in my career. So the achieve, bang, you then cross over that mark. And you know what we're going to do, right? But the leadership don't know that. What that happens is, it means that the board aren't saying, okay, so Cohen tells Emma, tells Ruta, you're on a hit, you haven't hit. They're saying, well, that Ruta's amazing, she's overachieved. Because the board don't know the numbers that we gave
But
you
the thing is,
individually.
so my experience was the opposite. My sales target was apparently just the bare minimum that I had to hit to perform. I actually had to do way more than my sales target, and I'm like, then why have you targeted me at this number?
Okay, so they just targeted
If
the
you're
wrong number.
if you're expecting me to do way more than that, it's like, it's my target. I'm a goal-oriented person. When I hit my target, I'm going to be fucking done. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I see where you're coming from.
yeah. They done it the wrong way. You're supposed to protect and enable and inspire your team to then want to overachieve and you put tickets in. Or for example, they say if you get to 100%, then it's 2.5 times kicker, 1.5 times kicker. You're like, wow, I'm
Yeah.
gonna make a lot of money this year. You get to, they say, you know what, market conditions, sorry, we can't pay you that. Remember, our codes, millions and millions of pound deals have never been paid, and that's really hard.
That sounds illegal. Isn't it illegal? Can't you sue people for that? No.
I had a colleague that happened to who closed. I mean, it was a huge enterprise deal, and then she did not get her commission on it because they all of a sudden they changed the rules. They were like, I can't remember what they actually did to her, but they basically were like, oh, we'll give you like 20% of the commission we promised you because you did do something, but other people worked on this deal with you. It's like, hang on,
Fuck right off.
Fuck off, give me my money. And also, just to say, like, the personal impact of that on this person, who when she hears this will be like, oh my God, but she was trying to buy her house. She wanted to buy her house, so she had gone out, she'd smashed her target, she was waiting for her commission. She waited a whole year for the bloody commission. Then they didn't pay it to her, yet the whole time she's fantasizing about buying a house. I'm like, what are you doing to these poor sods, like, in that situation? Like, it's not, that is not, I know it does, but it's really not okay.
Because it feels like it should be.
No,
it's in a contract. It's in an employment contract, surely, what your commission is.
Emma's example is called a windfall payment. A windfall payment is when you overachieve so much that it could change or affect the margin or operating cost of the business. If they can prove that paying you would affect their operating cost or margin, they don't have to. That's what a windfall payment is. Stop them paying anyone and lots of money.
What in the world?
Contract in 25 years, right?
Wow.
The commission is based on your manager's authorization only, not contracting. So if your manager wakes up and doesn't want to pay you, doesn't pay you. They want to change the commission plan mid-year. Sometimes it's for you from a marketing understanding you. These things like contracts, you didn't know were there. The windfall was there. The manager's decision to say commission is there. If, for example, big organisation that I was at recently, one of the female employees went on maternity leave, and she'd worked on a deal for 2 years, okay? And this is a multi-million 5-year deal. She's not going to pay commission. She's on maternity leave. When you're on maternity leave, you don't earn commission. Same as paternity leave.
I'm
There's a lot of
outraged.
bias and prejudice here based on the role you have as well. And remember that, maternity is like weeks, it's fast,
2
right?
weeks
Yeah,
in.
it's
Maternity
ridiculous.
could be a year. So you built up pipeline, right, for 4 or 5 years. You want to have a family, that's all right. You have a child and you lose hundreds of thousands of pounds because you're a woman, basically. So these are some of the
Wild.
examples that are completely ridiculous. And to me, if you're a leader or a manager, that strategic AE, who is badass at what he does, by the way, she's going to leave. It's like, what? Now you're going to ramp up and hire and train someone else for 5 years? It's free. It makes no sense to me. Why would you want to keep her, make her happy? Even if you said to her, we're going to pay you 70% of it, she'd go, fair play. I'm not there. I'm off. But nothing. Honestly, it drives me absolutely insane.
I hope if someone at this company hears this podcast and they should be ashamed of themselves because that's awful. Like, I know they don't care. That's the problem, is they don't care. It's what's so awful. They do not care.
If you talk about pay, which people do a lot, which I can't stand, I don't care what my base salary is. You don't know what my actions are. You don't know what my life is. You don't know who I support. If you agree to pay me something, then pay me. If you agree to show up at a certain time, show up on time. If you agree to do anything, do it in life. Don't then change it or counter it based on what you perceive as right or wrong. Like, why put it in writing then?
Quickly, before we get on to the marketing gossip, Cohan, if you're a senior leader and you're listening to this, like, we've obviously found out some stuff that we didn't know about salespeople's contracts. I wish they'd told us this before we started to hate on them about being lazy. Like, we didn't know this shit. Now we know.
Shit.
Yeah.
We'll be nicer next
You have
time.
a little bit more empathy now.
A little bit more compassion for our sales colleagues. What should senior leaders do to stop? So, like, if you want to have a good company culture, because this is really fundamentally what it boils down to, and hopefully by proxy of good company culture and treating people fairly, you should hit your targets. What do you think senior leaders can do to make sure that stuff happens?
I think everything we spoke about, like, goes on every day, and it's our way of thinking. It's just more than I understand, and having I always do workshops with leaders and say, look, just understand actually the market you're in and the trends that are happening. Let's look at a realistic number. So let's look at year on your growth. Look at your competitors' year on year growth, and then as a median, look at what number you can hit. Realistic, right? Based on that, what people do we need to hit that number? What software do we need to enable them to hit that number? Let's whiteboard out what that looks like and then build a strategy to hit that. That's what I would say. It's like, stop, realign, look, gain knowledge, enable yourself on the market, what you're doing, speak to your leader and your leader about what you're doing, so they're confident. Because a lot of this behaviour we say about the whole podcast is about mistrust. And someone not trusting, I don't believe they're going to hit that number, so I'm going to push them. Or people you trust, or don't hire them, is the first thing. You have to have trust and value what they're saying. If you're paying them a salary you're not comfortable with, don't pay that salary. Be comfortable with the salaries, be comfortable with what you're doing, and then have a strategic plan to move forward. Marketing and sales are aligned, as well as brand, PR, and digital, and software. Don't just people a pen and a laptop and say, go ahead. No onboarding, no cultural awareness, no understanding of assets, no materials, no nothing to say, go and hit £1 million. Are you joking? Just be realistic here. And if you say,
Love that.
yeah.
So, is there any sales or marketing gossip that you'd like to share with us? Something that you've seen that's been interesting or irked you or is living in your mind rent free?
Yeah, well, something that irks me is just that I guess that I do my professional role and trying to put an understanding of trying to look at their strategy and their go-to-market. Another part of what I do, which I mentioned in the intro, was my equity and tech group, basically trying to support marginalised groups get into tech to have a career, whether it's through certification pathways, whether it's through enablement, through CV, through soft skills, etc. And I had someone come speak to me the other day and say, look, we've built an AI app. We think it could really help you in your cohort. I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is like 3 or 4 calls for hours of my time. When we went through the demo, I said to him, is your team not right? I mean, right, I was like, well, in regards to the linguistics of your algorithm, what names you put in? If you put in, Peter, James, and Paul, they don't sound like us. He's like, oh, no, it'd be fine. I gave him 10 names, the AI couldn't pronounce one. Gave him another 10 names, the AI couldn't pronounce one. He wasn't a bad person. He wasn't trying to upset me. He was just ignorant to a person that's trying to drive diversity, and his software can't pronounce any of our names. So this is just really to think about with AI, think about your biases, think about when you're building something, not for yourself. If it's a global product for everyone, then it has to be, women, men, black, white, and everyone in between. It can't just be your cohort of where you grew up and who sounds like you. Therefore, it's not equitable, especially if you're pitching to a guy trying to drive diversity.
That's the problem,
I was
right?
like, are you serious?
It's like,
I was like, come on, guys.
Maybe don't.
My time. Yeah, it was a waste of my time. I was really frustrated because it was really crap. And it's like, wow, I never think that actually can't work in my organisation. So that's a frustration. I love AI. I love what it's doing. Obviously, I work with an AI, but let's be careful and mindful about how we use AI and make sure it's available for everyone and not just a specific group.
Yeah. It's like accessibility in tech. It's like you made a piece of tech, and then every tech founder I have ever met has said, we'll make it accessible when someone asks for it.
Yeah, we've definitely learned some stuff, and as Emma said, our empathy has been upped for sales. So I hope that translates to the rest of our podcast going forward.
Absolutely.
If you want to get in touch with Cohan, we're going to leave his details in the description below. And if you have any questions for him, please go to chat. And thank you so much for being here.